YouTube's Q1 ad revenue approached 10 billion, up 11%, with subscriptions also growing strongly. And Howdy hit 1 million subscribers as Roku flexes its distribution muscles. Listen on.
Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Stream. This is Will Richmond from Video News, and Colin Dixon from Endscreen Media is with me, of course. Colin, how's everything? What are you watching these days?
I can tell you what I am doing, Will, is I'm getting a bit crazy with the way some of the streaming services that I use on a regular basis dribble the episodes out. This is a real sign that how big an impact Netflix has had, sort of picking up from our story last week when we talked a lot about Netflix. I just can't wait for next episodes. Like, it turns out there's a couple of shows that I'm watching that are actually from broadcast, and by the way, I didn't even realize that they were being broadcast on regular TV. Well, it turns out I'm still tied to those schedules because I go to watching the next episode and it's not there because it hasn't been broadcast yet. So I don't know. We're still tied to the old idea of broadcast, even though we're in the streaming age, and it's making me a bit crazy.
Well, I have the same experience with Apple TV. I've been watching the John Hamm series, Your Friends and Neighbors, and every Friday, that's the schedule. They don't drop them all. So it's Netflix spoiled us in one respect, but it's not universal by any stretch.
I guess not. But we are going to be talking about two main topics today. Our first topic is, another spectacular quarter for YouTube, right?
Yeah, Alphabet reported its earnings yesterday. We're recording here on Thursday. And, they're always a little bit sparse with sharing financial information for YouTube, but they do disclose YouTube's ad revenue, which for Q1 26 were about $9.9 billion. That's up about 11% from Q1 25, which was about $8.9 billion. And also up about 25% from Q1 24, which was about $8 billion. So, we're talking an increase over the past 2 years of about 25% revenue growth in the last 2 years for YouTube ads. But actually, they said YouTube ads is not the fastest growing part of the business. Rather, the fastest growing is the subscription side, the subscription revenue. And they said that's really being driven by YouTube Music and Premium. And, they don't break out the number of subscribers for YouTube Music and Premium. But they did say that it was the largest quarterly increase in non-trial subscribers, both globally and in the U.S. So the subscription side of YouTube continues to do very well. And, they said, and this isn't specific to YouTube, but they said there are now 350 million paid subscribers across all of their subscription businesses. They said, I think it was late last year, maybe, Colin, correct me, but 125 million YouTube subscribers on the ad-free and premium plan. Was that right?
Yeah, I think so. And that's what they say on the website as well.
Yeah. And so those are some of the highlights. Then just a few other things just on the revenue side, just digging a little deeper on the ad revenue. They said that AI is really powering, they said, better matching and discovery between brands and creators, and powering something they call YouTube Creator Partnerships. So that's happening on the revenue side. Also, YouTube Premium Lite is now available in 23 countries and planning for about a dozen more in Q2. Premium Lite, of course, is a no ads tier, but it does not include music. And I think last but not least, unless you have others, YouTube said that U.S. viewers are now watching over 200 million hours of YouTube content daily. And of course, we know that YouTube continues to lead in the Nielsen, the Gauge watch time across all streaming apps. So that's kind of a summary.
Looking at the Gauge data for the last year, it's actually pulled back a bit from its peak. Its peak was owning 13.4% of total television viewing back in July 2025. So that's 13.4% of total viewing. And it's actually pulled back, as I said, it's now in the most recent month that Nielsen's published, which is February, they have it listed as 12.7% of total viewing. But Will, it's just so far ahead now, 4.3% ahead of its nearest rival, which is Netflix at 8.4%. And they made the point in the call that YouTube has really dominated TV now for 3 years in the US. It's been the most watched single service in the US. And I wouldn't hesitate to say it is the most watched service on television in the US today. I would imagine with these numbers that it is watched more than any of the broadcast networks. So it is easily the most popular service in the US today. So, that I think really illustrates why we're seeing such big growth in YouTube and the revenue. It's definitely part and parcel of the growth around the world, but also the growth on television in the US and in other markets. And that, of course, is something that they continue to lean into. But one of the interesting things here is that the one category that YouTube hasn't been well known for, turns out, is growing extremely fast as well. So there was an article in a publication called Press Gazette. I'd not heard of this one before, but it was really looking at the impact of English language news sites. And according to these guys at Press Gazette, they say that the subscriber base for the top channels has increased 16% over the past 15 months. So they were basically looking at 115 leading video news publishers on YouTube. And that really speaks to, I think, the growth of news. And it really shows that news organizations now are taking YouTube much more seriously as a platform for their content. And they gave a top ranking, and it turns out that BBC News is the top ranked English news site on YouTube with 19.7 million subscribers, ahead of ABC News with 19.5 and CNN which also has 19.5 million. And the interesting thing about the BBC, there's a couple of interesting things here that's interesting about the BBC, Will. The first is that the BBC announced earlier this year that it was going to be making dedicated content for YouTube. So this is a big break for the BBC. It's really focused on its own broadcast channels and broadcast outlets. And now it is going to be making bespoke content for YouTube. It's a YouTube first strategy in that respect. And they say that started with the Winter Olympics in February. So there's that. The other interesting aspect about BBC is that, of course, BBC in the UK is ad-free and YouTube is an ad-supported platform. So that's a very different strategy, I think, for them to be involved in what is primarily an ad-driven platform. So that's all pretty interesting there, and it just really speaks to the importance of news on YouTube. And I have to say that a lot of my local TV station news breaks are showing up in my feed from YouTube on TV as well. So I find myself being pushed to local providers of news, which is, I think, probably good. Otherwise, they wouldn't capture me, right, as a customer. So YouTube, another area where it's making inroads is news.
Such a sign of the times that a local broadcaster has evolved from over-the-air distribution to pay TV distribution to now YouTube distribution, right?
Yeah.
Go figure. So just one more piece on YouTube that I wanted to share, which is that they announced the feature now for custom multi-viewer. And we've talked about this before, but this idea of a multi-view window where YouTube has put together 3 or 4 different channels so you can see in one window, and then you can highlight the audio from the one that you want to watch. They've now expanded that feature so that viewers can actually choose which channels they want to include in their personal multi-view bundle. And so I've been a big fan of this feature. I think it's really nice. It allows, again, it's been only guided by what YouTube was putting together, but it allowed for multiple windows, multiple networks to be viewed at the same time. And so I think this is a nice value add for YouTube subscribers to be able to get this.
I do too, Will. It sounds great, right? Because now I can have my favorite channel, so I just tune to my multi-view channel, see which one is playing the most interesting content that I want to watch, and I'm there. So that's really great. I think that is a really cool feature and really illustrates why the web and connected TV is just a better platform for the TV experience these days. There's one other thing I will mention that I don't get. Apparently, Google TV is adding this summer YouTube Shorts to the experience. I don't get this. Shorts on TV, I think, are a lot less compelling than they are in a mobile environment. We talked last week about Netflix adding Shorts to the Netflix client on mobile. That makes a lot of sense. I don't get this at all. I don't know why Google TV thinks that people want to watch Shorts on TV. I think it's a really a mobile experience that people want to enjoy, not a TV experience.
I think you may be talking about people your age or my age that don't want to enjoy YouTube Shorts on TV. But I think if you talk to a focus group of 12-year-olds, you might get a very different answer, Colin. What do you think?
Well, 12-year-old, I definitely ain't. So, yes, maybe it's not a feature for me, but I don't know. Those young people are typically not watching on a TV anyway. They're watching on a mobile device mostly. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe there is some utility to it, but I don't know. It's not something that I'll be seeing because, as I say, I've moved away from Google TV being my primary TV interface anyway. So I guess we can take a look though and see what it looks like.
Fair enough. So that's a fair amount on YouTube. As always, one of our favorite topics here. They continue to be the 800-pound gorilla of streaming video and always innovating in one way or another. But let's move on. Speaking of innovation, we'll talk about Roku for a second, which had a few announcements this week as well.
Yeah, they certainly did, Will. And I suppose the most interesting thing that came up this week was some new research from Antenna Live. And they have found that Howdy, which is a subscription television service which Roku introduced last year in August, and it's very cheap. It's only $2.99 a month. And Antenna has, as we know, Antenna tracks SVOD services and uptake of SVOD services. And what they've found here is that Howdy has actually done pretty well in its first year of availability. It's not quite a year, right? We've still got a couple of months to run before it hits the year. And they say that it already has attracted 1 million subscribers. And it looks like it's been pretty steady growth since the introduction. Now, 1 million subscribers is not that big a deal, right? When we're in the world of SVOD, it's not that big a deal. But to give a little bit of context around this and why I think this is pretty significant, the first thing is that the content that is available through Howdy, I would characterize as pretty deep library content. I was browsing through some of the stuff that that Roku says is available through Howdy, and I gotta tell you, it's very old. Will, in general, I didn't see anything that was even 5 years old. Everything seems to be pretty much old, 10, 15-year-old content, and so that's the first thing. The first thing is the content that it is offering is anything but current. It's really older content. And so what this really speaks to here is that Roku is a pretty powerful marketing machine now, particularly in the US. And what they're doing now, I've noticed this, I have my Roku set up on a secondary TV, and I've noticed that they really take every opportunity to push Howdy in that interface. And so I think what this speaks to is that Roku is a very good marketer now to its customers. It's been able to get 1 million of them to sign up for a service that provides content that's ostensibly no better than, and in some respects worse than, other big advertising supported services like Tubi, which is available for free. So I think that speaks to the power of Howdy and Roku. That really speaks to the power of Roku in the market. And one of the interesting things here is the antenna data also shows how sticky it has become, how sticky Howdy has become. They found that it is retaining customers extremely well. So they say that 6 months after subscription, 51% of Howdy subscribers are still paying, and that compares to 47% for premium SVOD and 38% for specialty SVOD. But that's not, I think, speaking to the import of the content. I think it's speaking to the price point, which is $2.99. So it's so cheap that I think that people, if they're only using this, once or twice a week, or they're not using it very much, at $2.99, being able to watch ad-free for the couple of hours that they're using every week or whatever it is, it's still a compelling proposition, and really speaks to the way that Roku is pitching this, which is as a comfort food. It's a place to come to find old favorites. So I think it's a very well targeted product, and to be sure, it's not driving a huge amount of revenue for the company, just $3 million a month. Which is not, as I say, very huge when you're talking about a company that is driving revenue, something like $5 billion a year. I think that's probably what they're going to do in 2020, 2025, 2026 rather, maybe 6. So it's not a huge amount of revenue for the company, but a very interesting and sticky service.
Well, I hear you on all that, Colin, and I'll say as a Roku user that since Howdy launched, I have seen so many home screen ads for Howdy. I think I think, obviously this is anecdotal only, but I think I've seen more ads for Howdy than ads for all other premium services available through Roku combined.
Yeah.
As you said, that speaks to their distribution strength. And actually, we saw yet another deal for another SVOD service available through Roku this week, right?
Yeah, that's right. So Peacock has been has been available through the Roku channel for a while now. And one of the things that they've done here is that they have enhanced Peacock Premium Plus, which is the upper tier where you're watching ad-free. They've enhanced this by providing, quote, DVR type services. So the ability to pause and rewind and sort of trick, what we used to call trick play in DVR days. And in fact, Roku is calling these DVR features. It doesn't say that you can record for later watching, but I think this is interesting, Will, purely and simply because those features are available through the Peacock app. So I signed up for Peacock Premium Plus through the Peacock app, and I can do all of those things through the app. But when you sign up through the Roku channel or through Amazon channels or through one of these aggregation sites, you're watching the content through that app, not through the Peacock app. So clearly the Roku channel doesn't provide Peacock Premium Plus users with the ability to watch live and pause those streams. They can watch the live, but they can't pause, but now they can. So basically this is to bring the Roku channel Peacock subscribers to close to parity with the Peacock app users. And this is actually very much in line with something that Anthony Wood, who's the CEO of Roku, said that the company is doing, which is they're putting a renewed focus on becoming a reseller of SVOD services through the Roku channel. So being able to provide live pause is a very important part of that puzzle, being able to provide parity with the features that people can get in the app will draw more people to subscribe through, I think, the Roku channel, because they don't feel like they're losing anything. I don't know about you, but if I was subscribed to Peacock through the Roku channel and I was watching a lot of live sports and I found out I couldn't pause, I would cancel the Roku subscription immediately and resubscribe through Peacock where I could pause. So I think that's a really important feature. One interesting thing, though, I will note, it's still not quite feature parity because they did not say that you can catch up to live like you can through Peacock. That is the feature where you join a game live and you can watch the highlights to catch up to live. That doesn't sound like that's yet available through the Roku channel, but important, I think, for Premium Plus subscribers who want to subscribe that way.
And I'll just add that most people, I would venture to say most people who sign up for Peacock Premium through Roku don't know what other features might be available through the Peacock app directly.
Could be true.
They consider this the optimal Peacock experience that's being offered through Roku. So, but nonetheless, parity is important. They don't want to have two vastly different premium products out there floating in the market with the same brand name.
No, they really don't. And there is one other thing that I did want to mention, which I think is a first, Will, with Roku. They announced this week that the CW network will be making available their broadcast shows next day after air for free through the Roku channel. So you don't need to be signed up to a CW app or anything, or a CW tier. You will be able to watch programs like Private Eyes West Coast, Police 24/7, game shows like Scrabble and Trivial Pursuit, and WWE Next, which are all on the CW. You'll be able to watch those the day after they've been broadcast on the Roku channel. And I think this is quite a decent coup for Roku here, because this is the first time I think that any broadcaster has made content for free through one of the fast services like the Roku channel. So that's a big coup for them, and should another benefit for people who want to watch through a Roku platform.
Agree. Smart for Roku, and also I think smart for CW in enhancing its distribution. A lot of people wouldn't be able to get CW content at all. And now, as we were talking about before, with Roku becoming a formidable distribution partner, they're able to get CW content into homes, and it's, I would think, just pure margin for CW.
You bet.
So I think that's all we have for this week, Colin, unless we've missed anything yet. Do you think?
No, I think we've covered both Roku and YouTube pretty completely. The latest news for those sites, so I think we're pretty much done today.
Okay, sounds good. Then we'll end on that note. Thanks everybody for joining us this week, listening in on Inside the Stream, and we'll see you all again next week. Inside the Stream is a production of In-Screen Media and Video News, all rights reserved.